Hey there, welcome. You are at the Thrifty Journal Shop. My name is Amber. If you are new here, welcome. So happy you stopped by. And for all of you great, awesome, cool people that keep coming back, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, this is part 2 of the fabric covered journals. I will link that video down below if you haven't seen it. I showed how I make some of my fabric scrap piece together squishy kind of journals. So I made this journal on camera. I showed you step by step how I like to make them. I did add this big, huge rickrack here to the cover since the last time. That's really all that I've added. So before we start with the inside, I will have these 4 are all completed. I just have to bind them and then stuff all the pockets and stuff. This one is spoken for, I believe, but I will have this one, and I will do detailed flip throughs. This one, and then this one, and then I should have 3 more. One of the other ones is spoken for also. So I will have these 3. I hope to have these 3 up in my shop sometime this week. And then the other 3, hopefully by the weekend or latest next Monday. Okay, so for the inside, I already trimmed down the pages. For the inside of my journals, whether they're fabric journals or I make a journal out of a old textbook or I repurpose a book. A lot of times if the cover pages are not in the best condition, I will usually put scrapbook paper or wallpaper. Those are my go-tos. By far, wallpaper is my favorite thing to use inside a journal. It's nice and thick. It's just, there's so many varieties, designs, and colors in wallpaper. And I just think it's just a super fun paper to use in a journal. I like to keep the covers of my journals pretty simple. I put a base down, and then a lot of times I will have pockets. I love having pockets in my own personal journals just to stick things in that I might want to add throughout. I don't do a lot of like decorative pockets and library card pockets or any of those kind of things. Sometimes I might add some trim to the pocket or add a cluster. I might do something like that, but usually I keep it really simple. I like simple. So for this cover, I decided to use fabric pockets with the wallpaper. And so what I do is I sew around here. I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this onto the wallpaper. And then I am going to sew this to the cover. Now, if you're not a sewer, this is something that you could glue. You could use some, fiber fix glue or some kind of fiber tack or Fabri-Tac or Fabri-Fix. I like tacky glue. I've used tacky glue before. And then you could very well, just glue this to the cover and it would hold up really nicely. I use turbo tacky glue or tacky glue when I glue these into like a book when I can't sew through a really thick chipboard. I used tacky glue and it works perfect. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and sew and I will be back. Okay, I am back. I sewed the pockets to this really pretty wallpaper and then I just sewed all around. So now I've got some front and back fabric pockets. Those are some of my favorite, just making some really easy fabric pockets. So that's how this one's gonna look. I just thought I would show you some of the papers that I'm going to put in the journal. I am not going to show you how I bind it in here. I do have a video of me doing that with one of my trash journals. It's pretty basic. I'm just going to do probably a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And I usually just use some graph paper and I measure this and I just sort of space it out somewhat evenly with that. But I will link that video if you're interested. And also there are so many awesome tutorials on how to sew in signatures to a spine out there on YouTube. Way better than I can explain it for sure. But what I did was I pulled apart an old journal. So I pulled it apart. It was a sewing journal. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to redo that journal, but I'm going to use some of these pages in this journal. It just so happened that they're like the perfect size for this journal. So these are some of the basic papers I like to do when I make a journal to either put in at my Etsy shop, or if I'm making a journal for myself, I like to put a lot of these items in my journals also. And all of the items I'm going to show you have all been thrifted. Here's some wallpaper. Like I've stated many times, I love using wallpaper. I use a lot of pages from craft books. I find those all the time in thrift stores. And a lot of the reasons why I like using them is because they're nice and thick. This is a really thick kind of cardboard or cardstock kind of paper. This takes paint really well. I love old stationery. This is some really pretty Hallmark stationery that I made a flip. I love graph paper. It's a great writing space. I find this a lot at thrift stores. Just some plain, stationery paper. Here's some more rainbow stationery. I love adding pages, all different sizes in here. That's just kind of like how I like to make my journals. Here's a page from a bird book. I love adding nature themed pages to my journals, whether they're from bird books, garden books, or one of my favorite books to add pages from also. I love flowers and trees and all sorts of animals. This is another craft book page. I do like adding playing cards at times to my journals, not all of my journals, but if I'm in a certain mood for a journal that's more embellished, I might add playing cards. They make good tucks. I love adding fabric, pieces of fabric, trims, and scraps to my journals. This is some scrapbook paper that I had thrifted. Another playing card did. This is a great place to tuck in something. These were some coloring book pages I found thrifting. I love them. They're really cool. They're very retro. Some of these look like they're from the 60s or the 70s. You could paint these, use colored pencils. I just think they're really cool. Children's book pages. I love adding children's book pages to my journals. I'm not a big Disney fan. I never have been, but I love Winnie the Pooh. I love Richard Scarry. I love little golden books. I kind of gravitate more towards like Care Bear, like 80s themed. But Winnie the Pooh's always been a really big favorite of mine. Here's another one of those coloring book pages. Here's a garden paper. I love adding these, nice places to journal or not. I mean, this is just a beautiful page in itself. I like adding fold outs in my journals a lot. This is some more craft paper. When a page is larger than the journal, a lot of times I'll just fold it up and turn it into a pocket. Here's some more stationery, Monopoly money. This is how I hinge a lot of my full-size pages. I will use fabric. I'll use pages that I've trimmed down. I've used washi tape at times. More that stationery. And then I love adding cookbook pages or pages from old cookbooks, especially cake decorating books. I find them really fun to play with. I made a pocket here out of this stationery. And then here's just some stuff that I added. I'm going to pull all this stuff out and put different stuff, and I might move all these papers around. But I just thought this would be a great way to use some of these signatures that I had pulled apart from another journal. Calendar pages are awesome. That is a really cute page. This is a thicker calendar too. So that's one signature. And a lot of times I will add envelopes. I like to add envelopes in my journals. This is, I just sewed around. So this is a nice pocket. Sometimes I'll sew them off the side so they flip out. Same thing. I think there's some sewing theme papers in here. Here's, this is from like a needlepoint book. Vintage playing cards. Here's a piece of stationery. I just added some lace. This was from a craft book of some sort with maybe like the stencil of whatever, like the shirts or something like that. I mean, and this is a little thinner paper. So a lot of times with this, I will back it up with something else. And then I've created all these different pockets. And this is just some like heavier scrapbook paper. So that makes like a nice way to add different, fold outs and flips and elements to your journal. And then here's some more wallpaper. This was from some kind of fashion or some kind of craft book with some, different kinds of dress patterns and things. And then I just added the side pocket here using some other paper. I think this was like an inside of a book jacket. So just using a bunch of different papers and an eclectic mix. And then I've got some more papers here. I've got some Richard Scarry book pages. I've got some more scrapbook paper. I've got some construction paper that I'm going to add. Some music paper. Music paper is probably one of my favorite things to add to all my journals. I love to put acrylic paint on here or spray it with coffee or spray it with food coloring or just leave it plain. Music paper is one of my favorite things to collage with. And here's some more wallpaper. This is a very interesting mix of papers. There's not really a theme to these. And this is really my favorite style of journal, is when you just add like an eclectic mix of papers. And these are some of my favorite papers. And these have all been, like I said, thrifted. So this might have 3 signatures. I made quite a bit of a big spine. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of pair up some of these pages, then I'll sew them in, and then I will be back to share a flip through of this one and some of the other ones I showed. And then I'm going to be working on another collection. I've got some Care Bear books that I found, and I'll be making some of those. And I'm also going to be making some hand-drawn journals. Might do some wallpaper ones. I've got some ideas for some composition notebooks too that I might alter into journals and keep them really simple. Lately, I'm just really in the mood to just draw and maybe put some of my drawings on the covers of journals and see how well those do. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this gave you like some ideas if you're wanting to create your own fabric pieced scrapped journal. It's very fun and colorful to play with all different kinds of fabrics and just make like your own piece of art. I like these kind of journals because it's all unique and different. Like you're never going to see something like this replicated. And that's really why I love creating junk journals and art journals and all of those, because they're just all unique. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you find some sunshine today. The sun is out here in Michigan. It's supposed to be 50 degrees all week. Our snow is melting, which is so great because I am ready to get on my bike and I'm ready to walk more out in my back of my field here. I can actually get through the 4 feet of snow. I hope you find some beauty today, and I hope you find some time for yourself to create. I'll see you real soon. Thanks so much for watching.